Hey, what's up, witches? I'm back with a new hair color again to give you a little update on the whole garden situation. The sun just came out from behind the clouds, so it's really bright now. So right now my plan is just to weed this whole bed right here that's become overgrown. And when I say that not everything is a sign, this is what I mean. This was a little baby willow tree given to me by my dad a couple years ago on our anniversary, which was entirely a coincidence. He had a friend give him 2 baby trees. He kept one and asked if we wanted one, so I took it and I planted it. And it was probably just me putting a little bit too much sentimentality into it because I was like, oh, my dad gave us this, so I can't just let it go to waste. I have to take care of it and help it grow and not kill it like I do everything else. We planted it around our anniversary so it can be our anniversary tree and a symbol of our love. Well, here it is now, almost June, and last year the drought killed it. There's your sign? I don't think so. That's when I think it helps to not get too caught up in being attached to physical objects as symbols of spiritual or emotional connections. Like if you wear a Mjolnir for Thor and you lose it, you're not suddenly cut off from the gods and no longer have a relationship with Thor. So this tree being killed by lack of water, I am choosing to not take as a sign of the condition of my marriage because I know that it is healthy and still going strong. Thank you very much. So not everything is a sign. Sometimes it's okay not to get too hung up on the material and the symbolism. It is just a symbol. In this case, it was just a cute little connection that I made. And I don't even feel too bad about it because my dad ended up not even planting his and it died immediately. So ours at least got a couple nice years and got planted. It just sadly did not get enough water last summer. So I'm gonna weed this, we're gonna dig it out. I think I'll probably try to like carve some of it up to make runes or give it some sort of useful, noble, sacrificial death so that it did not die in vain. And then I got this little bush, this cute little flowering bush that is heat and drought tolerant to go in its place. And then this will just be where I put all of my containers for my witchy herb garden. Got some things in this box. This is a really great way to grow some things in a container garden. This is my little curry plant, which smells really cool. Some basil and some parsley, and then I have a little lavender plant over here. So here is the hugelkultur mound. After 1 year of being outside, everything is composted down pretty nicely, and I'm gonna plant squashes, melons, cucumbers, any kind of vining plants on here so that the mound can just kind of support them naturally. Ooh, it looks like some of my peas are ready to harvest too, and then I think they need a little bit more help being staked up probably as well. They seem to have taken to these little bamboo poles pretty well. I might have a couple more radishes. Looks like there's one peeking out there, ready to harvest. But my cats have also sadly been using this as a litter box, so I didn't get nearly as much lettuce mix as I did last spring. So we'll see what else I have that I can plant in here. And then here's where we, and by we I mean my husband, dug up our sad little dead tree that didn't make it. So now I'm just gonna clean up this whole garden bed around this little bush that we planted. I'm gonna have to go back to the garden store to get some more seeds because I thought I still had lemon balm and chamomile, but I don't. And that's what I want to grow the most. But that's probably what this little area will be turned into is just a little witchy herb garden with some containers in it, so it's looking like a sad, hot mess right now, but hopefully this little flowering bush that we put here in place of the tree will begin to thrive and start living its best life, and probably just put some containers in here to grow other herbs in. I think my peas are probably about done because it's gonna get too hot for them soon. And I also didn't stake them up very well this time, but they're definitely thriving. I've got a ton of snow peas picked that I already made a stir fry with this past week. And it's growing more, so it looks like I'll get probably another handful or at least a couple more before they're done. And then I'll have to decide if I want to grow some more peas or not. Looks like I have one little lettuce here that's ready to harvest, so that's exciting. I'll probably plant some more. And then I think there's some spinach over here too that made it. But the zucchinis that I planted are doing well. They should start taking off soon. Can already see a couple flower buds on this one, but it'll probably be a while before we get any zucchini, because I've noticed that they tend to put out the male flowers first so that the pollinators can come along and collect the pollen, and then it will start putting out the female flowers that will grow into the zucchini. And then over here I have all my other vine plants. This is a weed, but got some watermelon over here. Ooh, it looks like my butternut squash are already putting out some squash blossoms. So that's exciting. I think you can kind of see there where this little guy might be getting ready to turn into the squash. Little baby squash there on the end. Hi, Merlin. This could be a little baby squash getting ready to form. And then usually the ones like this are gonna be the male flowers. You can see there's not like a little baby fruit on the base. And then here's a spaghetti squash. This is like year 3 or 4 of me trying to grow my own spaghetti squash because I do enjoy it. But for some reason, I think spaghetti squash are more of an autumn squash, so they take forever to grow. And then here's some cucumber plants that are doing good. I thought I lost some of my cucumber plants, but that's one, and that's one. So I'm hoping that these vining plants will just be able to spread out all over the hugelkultur mound and kind of use it as support instead of me having to keep trellising them up. They can just spread out wherever they need to and grow. You can see some little cucumber blossoms starting to form, and they're the same as the zucchinis. They will have male and female flowers on the same plant. So some of these will form into baby cucumbers and some will not. Look at this crazy guy. This is a chive blossom. So update, it's Midsummer. Yesterday was the 20th, so happy Freya's Day. It's Friday today. And as you can see, my lilies are coming in, which definitely for me always marks like the peak summer vibes. I'll probably pick some of these to give to Freya. Just wanted to give you guys a quick little garden update while I'm out here. Ooh, and before I forget, here are our raspberry plants. This is like the 4th or 5th year of growing raspberries, so we definitely have lots of canes now and are actually starting to get a good harvest. But we've actually planted these golden berries, which are really tasty. I kind of like to think of them like Freya berries, because they stay this beautiful yellow rose gold color. I always, anytime I pick the first berries or first fruits, we always give those to Freyr and Freya. But it looks like I should definitely have some berries ready to harvest. And then My mound plants are really taking off now. These are some watermelons that are definitely starting to spread out. This little butternut type squash was growing a little baby, but it seems to have been being nibbled on already. So this will make a perfect little first fruits offering for the prayer altar. I always like to give the first veggies or fruits or whatever I harvest from our yard or our garden and offer it to the Vanier. And then this, I think, is my spaghetti squash, which I'm on a 3-year quest to grow. Some blossoms, but I don't see any baby fruits yet, which, like I said, they usually tend to put out the male flowers first for the pollinators. And so now, once these, which all look like male flowers, are starting to grow, they should be soon followed up by the female flowers, which will have the baby squash. And then it looks like I did get one little cucumber, which I am also going to offer to Frere. And here you can see some little baby ones starting to grow. So these will definitely be going on the Frere altar as a little midsummer offering, so perfect timing there. I feel like basically my entire relationship with Frere is just us trading dick memes back and forth by me offering him phallic-shaped things. So these will be perfect for him. Happy Midsummer! Kiki update. She is about 9 months old now. She was 6 months when we got her in February. Garden update. Tobacco is really taking off now. This will be dried and used for ceremonial purposes. Whenever we go to a gathering, we love to bring tobacco that we've grown ourselves to offer to the land of a tier. It's time for me to clear out these peas, and I think I'm gonna plant some green beans in their place. The little zucchini plants that we planted in the other half are really taking off. Oh look, a cicada. You can definitely hear them out now that it's getting warmer. I always personally associate cicadas with the warmer months of the summer. Got some zucchini blossoms forming. Like I said, these are probably all male flowers. And you can't even see my hugelkultur mound anymore. It has been entirely taken over by squash plants. A lot of thistles starting to grow up around it. This is the melon that I planted. And it looks like we can see some blossoms starting to form there. Looks a lot like the cucumber flowers actually, which melons like this is like a little baby watermelon, and then things like cantaloupe are kind of from the same plant family as cucumbers, so they grow similar types of flowers. This, I believe, is my butternut type squash. Looks like oh my gosh, baby bun! I almost never see buns back here because of our privacy fence, but now that there's a little gap in it, I'm actually seeing bunnies back here. Hey, Philka! So yeah, here's some little baby squash starting to grow. My goal is to hopefully get a spaghetti squash this year, which I think is this guy. Kind of starting to grow out and take over the rest of the lawn, which I'm kind of okay with. So yeah, lots of squash blossoms happening now. At least one little baby squash forming. I picked a couple cucumbers already at this point. Oh, and there's a beetle on me, so that's cool. That little guy right here we can take. This might be one of the pickling varieties. I think I'm gonna take this little guy too to be a future pickle. I'm actually just now starting to run out of all the pickles that I made a year or two ago. So yeah, there's my little garden update. It's only been a few weeks since I did the last one, but as you can see, we are past midsummer now, first week of July, and everything's really starting to take off. Still making biscuits, as is her wont. So to end off this vlog, what I want to do is just to briefly go over what I did at the Fellowship of Northern Traditions Midsummer Gathering for our North Central region, which I've been attending for many years now. This is my tribe of people that I get to go gather with once or twice a year and just escape the mundane world for a little bit, hang out with a really cool group of authentic pagans and celebrate the gods. And I didn't get a whole lot of video while I was up there because for the most part I try to forget that I have a phone at these things. It's escape from reality for me. So usually I will try to leave my phone in an entire other room for most of the weekend, but I'll insert a few little clips I took here and there. So with this being a midsummer gathering, and with me also being a steward within the fellowship now, which basically just means that I'm not in charge of fully organizing the gathering events, but I am point person for assisting the leadership with putting on these events, planning and executing rituals and things like that. So I was super stoked this year to finally get to attend a midsummer gathering and get to orchestrate Vanir rituals during the day. My first midsummer gathering, which I have a video about on this channel, was completely rained out most of the weekend, so Thor definitely party crashed that entire gathering for sure. So for a couple of years now, my goal has been to get to hold some more rituals for summer type deities during the daytime while the sun was out, and I definitely did get to do that this year. It was really funny and kind of ironic because one of the last gatherings that we got to go to was a North Central Ostara meetup, and on the way up there to Wisconsin where the gathering was being held, it was a spring gathering and it was snowing the entire drive up there. But then once we got there and kind of performed all of our rituals to welcome in spring and the deities of spring, the spring weather finally arrived for the rest of the weekend as well, which was awesome. And a similar thing kind of happened this weekend because we were up in Wisconsin again for this midsummer gathering, and I grew up in Wisconsin and was raised there for the most part, but I had never been quite this far north into Wisconsin before. So it's interesting to see the further north you get how already the landscape and the types of trees and forests that you will find changes. Where we were staying, even though it's midsummer and down here in Kornheim, it is sweltering already. I was going to film this video outside, or at least this portion of the video outside, but we're under a heat advisory today, so inside you get. But the weather was actually beautiful up there for midsummer. I had made sure to make an offering to Thor before we left because the forecast was calling for rain for at least like the first 2 days, and I was like, oh hell no, Thor, I love you bro, but let me just give you this offering because for me it's just become a tradition to offer to Thor before we leave for a gathering and before we leave to come back, just to assure protection and safety. In this case, I also offered him a beer before we left and just asked that he keep the worst of the rain and the storms away out of my path while I drove the 7 or more hours that it took to get there. And he did oblige. It misted here and there, and then he did party crash a little bit the first night when we arrived, and so we did a little impromptu Thor ritual just to greet him and give some offerings to him because he does like to party crash. So we got a little bit of like some rainstorms, rain showers, like just little rain thunder clouds that would blow right through once or twice Friday evening, and then like maybe once the following day. But other than that, the weather was beautiful. It wasn't too hot. Where we were staying, there it was surrounded by trees, and while sadly we didn't have direct access to the lake that the cabin was on, we could at least kind of glimpse it from where we were, so I still ended up doing a little bit of an impromptu Njord ritual, but unlike some other places that we've been, the land here felt very relatively calm and serene in comparison. You could tell that most of the trees and the land there was relatively content, maybe a little bit dormant, but taken care of. Just good vibes all around. There was a particular birch tree that I found that I really fell in love with during the weekend, and we ended up holding part of our Alfar bloat there because it was just a fairy tree, feminine mother birch tree if I have ever seen one. So yes, many fae offerings were left there, and then I also did get to help do part of the Alfar bloat that we led that weekend, and that was a lot of fun. We had everyone just grab, sticks, rocks, instruments, whatever they brought or could find to just make sounds and music and noise and just try to party with the land spirits and the Alfar and the elves and invite all of those good and friendly spirits among those types to just come in and celebrate with us. And so that, I think, went off really well. I was definitely getting into it and vibing toward the end, even though I couldn't fully trance out because I was part of the ritual and helping to kind of get others submerged in the vibes. But yeah, that was a lot of fun and something that I'd never gotten to do before, because I think one of my goals with these was not only to just do Vanir-centric stuff, because this time of year is always peak Vanir vibes for me, and I just, really wanted to get into the Asatru Brosatru and infiltrate and get to do some Freya goddess worship. And ironically enough, what we ended up doing at this Midsummer ritual was Evan, one of our fellowship leaders, did the Freya portion of the ritual, and I actually ended up leading the Freyr portion of the Vanir bloat. So I found a piece of wood that was part of our firewood stack that was kind of split into a V shape, painted one part of it to look like a statue or a little mini idol of Freyr, and then he had his little fertility god aspect included as well. If you know, you know. I feel like basically my entire relationship with Freyr is just us trading dick memes back and forth. So that was a lot of fun for me, because one of the things that we know historically about Freyr worship is that the idol would be put into a wagon and led around to the land and the crops to bless them and for the people to see him and receive blessings. So I ended up just using our camp wagon that we brought to haul firewood and stuff around, but I painted a statue to look like a little Freyr idol and put all of our offerings in there, and then led him in the wagon down to the fire pit where the rituals were being held, and then we did some Freyr and Freya rituals there. And so I thought that was a lot of fun, and even though it was just a little short trek from the back porch down to the fire pit, it was still very kind of a momentous occasion for me to just have this mini procession, and had to go very slowly so as not to jostle him too much from where he was enthroned in the wagon. And so it ended up being this very cool, solemn yet joyous procession down to the fire where we ended up doing the Vanir bloat. So that was definitely goals achieved for me, was to worship my Vanir deities who are so near and dear to my heart and that I work with primarily, and get to honor them during their peak season in a group with other people. And to get to be a part of that was really fun and gave me a sense of accomplishment. And so yeah, to get to share that with other people is definitely something that has kind of become a mission in life for me, especially as someone who doesn't plan on having kids. This community and getting to help craft it and mold it and keep building it into the type of community that I want to see and to participate in, and to have the gatherings and the rituals just be the type of vibes that I'm personally going for and want to see more of in heathenry, has just been really fulfilling for me. And yeah, to just give me something greater that I can put my time and energy toward, and put my passions toward, and know that it will be appreciated and reciprocated, was just very much much needed for me. And so I enjoyed the retreat and the gathering very much, and I'm looking forward to getting to attend hopefully more this year. Hopefully we'll get to do at least one more North Central if I'm not able to make it to any of the larger gatherings, but I definitely always try to make it to the ones that are more local to me and in my area. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, and so I just wanted to hop in here and share a little bit of that with you, and what we did and what I experienced. And yeah, it's always a good time there, meeting with my tribe of like-minded folks. So yeah, I think I will end off this vlog there for now, and hopefully there will be more fun activities for me to share with you coming up in the future. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, stay classy, pagan.